Bob Arum has come out and taken another swipe at Eddie Hearn. In this particular instance, he has accused Hearn of wanting press, quote unquote, because of the fact that Hearn recently announced that terms have been agreed. There's been a verbal agreement for the Anthony Joshua Tyson Fury fight in 2021. Now, Fury's co-promoter Frank Warren has come out and said something similar. He said that Eddie Hearn can't help himself and he gave no new information. So the inference being that Hearn shouldn't have announced to the public that there's been a verbal agreement, terms, etc. He should have kept quiet and he's given no new information. That's the inference from Bob Arum and Frank Warren. Well, I guess they didn't see Tyson Fury on the very same day that Eddie Hearn announced these terms have been reached. I guess they didn't see their own fighter, Tyson Fury, do the exact same thing and upload a video telling the public that terms have been reached. Bob Arum and Frank Warren really should check what their own fighter is doing before they start slinging mud at the rival promoter. It really is quite incredible. So, look, I think one of the advantages of Tyson Fury having two promoters, whereas AJ's only got one, is that it's, more ammunition to attack Eddie Hearn with. Yeah, rather than it coming from just one person, it's coming from two people. So that is one of the advantages Tyson Fury has with regards to having two promoters. And obviously, I'm not privy to the behind-the-scenes negotiations, but Eddie Hearn has always said that Frank Warren probably has minimal involvement in Tyson Fury's career. And I do wonder what's going on behind the scenes with the negotiations. Do they involve Frank Warren, or is it mainly just MTK, Bob Arum, Hearn, etc.? The rumors I've heard, and some of the stuff I've read in the press, is that it's mainly MTK who are behind these verbal, terms being reached. These terms being reached verbally. It's mainly MTK behind that, and maybe with some input from Bob Arum. So Frank Warren's bitterness, and he's always been a bitter guy, not just towards Hearn, but just bitter in general. He's a bitter promoter, a bitter man. Is his bitterness being exacerbated, for lack of a better term, by the fact that he isn't included in these negotiations as much as he would like to be? Is that why he's coming out and taking swipes at every opportunity? And Bob Arum, of course, just likes to take swipes in general. That's his style. There's been this long-standing feud between Bob Arum and Dana White. In fact, I saw a video conference call between Eddie Hearn, Tony Bellew, and Dana White. Some of you may have seen that as well. It was quite interesting, actually, because Eddie Hearn and Tony Bellew were talking about fighters, boxers not being treated fairly and not being paid properly, and acting as though Dana White does treat fighters fairly and pay them properly, when actually Dana White has multiple UFC fighters who have accused him of not paying them fair and not doing right by them. So that was quite ironic and funny. But you also saw the rivalry, the feud between Dana White and Bob Arum flare up in that conference call where Dana White was just going in on Bob Arum. He ain't pulling no punches. He's not as diplomatic as somebody like Eddie Hearn. Dana White really has no filter, and he was going in. So, yeah, that was all fun and games. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. How can the likes of Bob Arum and Frank Warren criticize Eddie Hearn for announcing that terms have been agreed for Fury Joshua when Fury did the very same thing himself? How can they criticize Hearn for it? Have they just not checked what their fighter is actually doing? It's like any tiny opportunity they get to jump on Eddie Hearn and say something negative about him, they do it. But This time they jumped the gun. Yeah? And they've ended up with egg on their face because their fighter has done the exact same thing as Eddie Hearn. So if Eddie Hearn is hungry for press, then I guess Tyson Fury must be hungry for press as well, right? It is what it is. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's happening. I'm out.